Oh, Jack.
Hey, you are. How you doing? How we doing, John? You're muted.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now? Yes, I can.
Hey, I can't believe I got in by myself.
All right. See?
There you are.
We're doing good. We're getting the hang of this stuff.
Oh, God.
And it looks like we'll be on this for a while.
I played. Hey. And then I saw it, and it said join, and I put my name in. You're the host. Look at this. There's Jack.
Are you on? So you're on?
Yeah, he can hear me.
All right. There we go.
See, this is what I was saying. It says mute, and I thought I was on mute all along. But that's when I'm not mute. That's what I can talk. Yeah, it's Fred. Now it's good. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Adam.
Yeah, having some troubles with the system though.
And here's Mr. Kritz. Yo, brother.
How are you, sir?
All right, and you?
Fantastic.
How's it going, Manny?
I'm hanging in. Oh, is that Joe? There he is. Yo,
Yep.
How you doing, brother?
I'm good, my friend.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Jack.
How we doing?
Oh, we're doing.
I hear you. That's just like all of us. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, Adam, I had to dial in twice. I couldn't get in the first time.
No. Yeah, no, I'm having a lot of trouble. I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you.
Oh, okay.
Just can't
But no
see
video.
it.
Yeah,
No
I'm trying
video
to trying to figure that out.
You got to go to video, right?
Yeah, it just doesn't want to play today.
Hey, Doug.
Good evening.
Hey, Doug.
How are we all today?
Good.
Going fine.
Good. I'm going nuts.
There we go. All right,
Yeah.
now we're cooking.
Here you are.
I just heard I just heard a local town might have just shut down all their indoor sports.
Yeah, that's the rumor.
So,
Does that surprise you?
yes. In some
That means
sense.
that
Some
means
sense,
that they,
yes.
that means they got a lot of issues popping up.
Well, Doug, Rockaway Township, we won't be having any basketball or wrestling because the schools won't open for us, so
Yep.
we're closed.
Yeah.
So, Adam,
Yeah, Manny.
where's the boat that went with that steering, a wooden steering wheel on the wall?
Yeah, that's a little pride in the keys there.
Yeah.
With the bonefish over top of it.
Good evening, everybody.
That's nice.
Hey, Mayor
Mike.
Boozy, how are you?
Thanks.
Oh,
Mike,
good
how
evening.
are you? Good. How's everybody doing? Hanging in, Mike.
Right there.
Yes.
Are those bottles filling that cabinet? Or are they empty?
What's that? Oh, back there?
Yeah.
Excuse me for a
Display
minute,
purposes only.
Joe, we're
Okay.
gonna start the recording of the meeting now, okay?
Okay, it's 28 after, so,
Yeah, just so we don't lose anything, I just want to let everybody know.
right. Yep.
All right.
Hey, Jonathan.
Hey, Jack, what's up, buddy?
Living the dream, right?
Oh,
All right, it's 6:30. It looks like everybody's on. We started the recording, Liz or Pat?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Okay, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. We'll start with the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this point, we're going to take a moment of silence to remember the service and sacrifice of the armed services members who protect our nation and the first responders who protect our neighborhoods. And I'd also like to add, let's please keep our tax assessor, Mark Burek, and his family in our prayers as they go through a difficult time.
Yes.
Clerk, please take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly,
Here.
Councilmember Quinn,
Here.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Here.
Councilmember Chris. Here. Councilmember Salberg,
Here.
Councilmember Brooks,
Here.
Councilmember Noon, Council Vice President Sackett,
here.
Council President Jackson.
Here, we have a quorum. Please be advised that all electronic remote meetings of the Township Council held on WebEx are recorded. All members of the public will be provided with the opportunity to speak during any public hearing or open to the public sections of the meeting. The Township Clerk will meet each member of the public and ask if they wish to speak. As per Rockaway Township Code 2-5.14, any person desiring to address the council shall first seek recognition by the presiding officer, and upon recognition by the chair, the person shall give their name and address for the record. Unless further time is granted by the council, they shall limit their statement to 5 minutes. Statements shall be addressed to the council as a body and not to any member thereof. A councilman should not direct any questions to the speaker. addressing the council except through the presiding officer. In addition to speaking on the record during council meeting, members of the public may submit questions and comments to the council by emailing questions@rockawaytownship.org by the end of our open to the public session. This meeting was advertised in the Daily Record and Star Ledger, the official newspapers for the Township of Rockaway, on September 19th, 2020. Notice was posted on the official bulletin boards of Rockaway Township. Before we get into the agenda and the next agenda item, I want to just let everybody know in the public that you'll notice our clerk, Christina Clipperton, is on because her and her fiance, Jeremy, just gave birth to their daughter, Avery Marie. She was born on October 30th at 5:20 a.m., 7 pounds, 1 ounce, and 20.5 inches long. And congratulations to them, both of them. And I want to personally thank her for staying as long as she did to make sure, Liz was up and running and set to go. She really stuck it out towards the end. So congratulations, Chrissy. Next is number 6, approval of minutes. We're going to approve both A and B together. Can I get a motion?
So move.
Second.
Jack and Manny.
Council President, some discussion on the 13th minutes? Just maybe clerical.
3 minutes. Yep.
Let me just get it up on the screen here. Under the one portion of the minutes, if you recall, Council President, on the 13th of October, you read in a statement which we later identified as Resolution 20-181. And you made a motion, and it was seconded by Mr. Quinn, to recognize resolution establishing rules and procedures for public comment during meetings of the Township Council of the Township of Rockaway held remotely electronically on WebEx. Now, we had a second to that motion. There was Mr. Iacofano had somewhat intervened to make a comment about we needed to amend the agenda first before doing anything, obviously, because this didn't come in until last minute on that day. So it was less than 24 hours. That being said, we never amended the agenda to actually have this resolution on that agenda for the 13th of October. Though it was recommended that we needed to amend it, we did a roll call from the initial motion that you made just to recognize R 20-181. We made a motion to amend the resolution to include where I had questioned about the time frame of closing it to the members of the public via email or phone to participate during that portion. And then we also voted on the amended resolution to state the same. So what didn't happen was, one, you didn't rescind your original resolution to recognize the resolution R 20-181. And two, we never made a motion. There was never a motion made, as the minutes definitely confirm, that we needed to amend the agenda to actually vote on this and participate because it's in violation of our code. So my suggestion would be is to somehow make a motion to amend this current agenda to include R 20-181 for the procedures that you read for the statement before this meeting commences. So it's just a suggestion. You got it in there. It's only been 30 days since this happened. Next Tuesday, and the day after that is where the 45 days are up in case it's ever challenged. I think it's a simple fix that we need to address.
Mr. Iacofano, do you have any feedback?
Well, I'm not sure that I understand the explanation. And obviously, since it's not called to our attention until this meeting is in session, I don't know this is something we can go back and study now, since it would obviously be something that the deputy clerk is going to have to review the meeting tape and then report to you and me about what the meeting tape reflects or not reflect or doesn't reflect. I don't know that anybody else sitting on the council today can either confirm or reject the thesis that Councilman Kelly presents. So my suggestion to you would be to table the minutes pending the deputy clerk's review and report to the council president and the township attorneys.
Okay, so.
Or Mr. Jackson, or just table, have them voted on separately and just table the 13th, because I don't see.
That's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna make a motion to table the minutes of October 13th, 2020.
Well, we already have a motion on the floor. I mean, would this be considered incidental motion to vote on separately?
Mr. Iachafano?
I didn't notice if your original motion had been seconded, Council President.
It was seconded by Manny.
Yeah.
I would then suggest a motion to withdraw your initial motion and it's to be substituted by the motion that you just made.
Okay. So I make a motion to withdraw the initial motion. Would anybody like to second that?
I would second that.
Okay, myself and Mr. Kelly. So Liz, this is a motion to withdraw the initial motion and second made by Mr. Freelander. I made the motion and Mr. Kelly seconded it.
It should
I
be
got that.
captioned. It should be captioned a motion to withdraw the prior motion to approve both the October 13th and October 27th minutes.
I got that.
Okay.
Okay, I'll do a roll call for that.
Correct.
Council Member Kelly,
That's to rescind the original motion, yes.
Council Member Quinn,
Yes.
Council Member Friedlander,
Yes.
Council Member Fritz.
Yeah.
Council Member Selberg,
Yes.
Council Member Brooks,
Yes.
Council Member Noon,
Yes.
Council Vice President Sackett, Council President Jackson.
Yes, that's 9 yeses. The motion's rescinded. I'm now going to make a motion to remove the approval of the October 13th, 2020 minutes.
What?
Is that what you suggest, Mr. Iachafano, removing the minutes?
Remove for further consideration. You refer, Council President.
Just table it.
Same thing.
Is there a second?
I would second it. Or Mr. Quinn.
Joe, can we have discussion?
Sure.
Trying to figure out, we got the minutes last week, towards the end of the week. I noticed there was some mistakes on the minutes. I reached out to the deputy clerk. She amended the minutes. I'm just trying to figure out, Mr. Kelly, I appreciate you picked that up. How come you didn't send her a note to try to update him before we got to this? Because we've been going through this. We could have fixed this prior.
And you know what, Council Vice President, it's a good question on that. I didn't receive the last email from her until Friday late in the afternoon. She sent it at 5:30. That had everything amended on the minutes. So again, town hall is closed, but which maybe you're not aware of. I have emailed Mrs. Peterson on a couple of occasions on some other issues related to notices and whatnot, and I don't usually get a feedback or a response. I got one that was very vague. So apparently there's a reason that either A, Mrs. Peterson's been guided not to communicate with me, or she chooses on her own. So I figured this would be the next place to do so, to have it corrected. And, that's it. So, it's not really my job to police the minutes or the actions of the council president. It's really the clerk, and it's also the town attorney. So I just picked it up late.
He just answered your question, Mr. Sackett.
I got it.
Okay, clerk, you can take the roll call and we're moving that from the minutes.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz, Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Council Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
Council President Jackson.
Yes, that's 9 yeses. So the regular meeting minute approval of October 13th will not be voted on now to be tabled to next meeting. So now, can I get a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from October 27th, 2020?
I will
So
second.
moved.
All right, Mr. Quinn and Mr. Kelly.
Roll call.
Yes,
Councilmember,
please.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Council Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
Council President Jackson.
Yes, that's 9 yeses. The minutes are approved. Next is number 7, ordinances to adopt. We have O-20-23. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second.
So, I think I heard Adam first, second. Before we have discussion, I don't know, Mr. Perone, if you had anything to talk about regarding this ordinance. You're muted right now. Does he need to be unmuted or can he unmute himself? There you go.
I'm unmuted. Yeah, this is an ordinance that was originally on the agenda a while ago, and it was, I think this is the one that was tabled, correct?
Correct.
All right, and there were some changes made to the ordinance, just amendments to what I'll call just just language of the ordinance referring to the 5G. There was a 5G reference in the ordinance 3 times on 3 different occasions. There was a letter from Verizon that suggested that we change the terminology where it mentioned 5G to wireless communications. And I think it was in 3 different instances. And we thought that was a good idea. And we sent it along to Mr. Mills. It was also sent to Allison Ferrante, to Ms. Seeger, and everyone said that we should present it to the council for the council to vote to amend the ordinance as introduced, and then to introduce it, and then to wait the appropriate statutory time before it would come up for approval and a vote. So that's what we're suggesting tonight, that you amend the ordinance. The only things that have changed is references to 5G have been changed to the words wireless communications in 3 different spots. And the council consider amending it, voting on it, and introducing it with the amendment.
Any other discussion? So, Mr. Yachafano, do I need to change the wording, or Mr. Perone, do I need to change the wording? And we made a motion to vote on this, and we had a second. So we need to change the wording that it's a motion to amend, to introduce the amended version.
That's
And,
correct.
and I had something to talk about. I was muted, so I'll wait.
That's okay.
I'll wait for Mr. Yachafano to respond.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Perone, or
Well, no, we've changed the language. From what I understand, we've presented.
No,
you-
Joe is correct, if I may say. You have to change your,
He's going to change the language. Okay, I had given you
Okay.
ordinances, but if he changes it, he can write it in.
so, go ahead, Mr. Kelly.
Well, I had a couple of questions that related to this ordinance that's there. One, just to do some back review. If you recall, Council President, it was about maybe 4 minutes before the commencement of the last meeting, you had sent an email that stated amending the resolution. And I think you misunderstood a resolution to an ordinance containing to this ordinance 20-23. We never voted on anything for any amendments that were there concerning this ordinance at the time. And again, it was confusing because you kept referencing it as a resolution rather than the ordinance. So what you sent us back in on the last meeting, were those the amendments for this ordinance, or was that something else that we were dealing with?
That's this ordinance that you have here. You're
Okay,
changing
so
the
that was
5G.
just an error on that end of it. With regard to the ordinance itself, Mr. Perrone had mentioned that Verizon had thrown a little bit of an input in there about the verbiage when it came to the type of internet or 5G, and then there was a letter that was there from them. Have we reached out to any other utility company, whether it's Cablevision, Optimum, Telecast, JCP&L? Have we talked to any of them?
No, we haven't.
Is there a reason why we didn't communicate with them over this ordinance?
Can I clarify something, Mike?
Sure.
We didn't reach out to any. When we do our own ordinances, we usually don't reach out to outside people. We do an ordinance, and Verizon and Planet Network or something reached out to us, and we discussed the changes that they asked us to make. We agreed with them and made them. We had a meeting set up with JCPL. They canceled, and we're moving forward with this recommendation.
When was the meeting scheduled, Mrs. Seeger?
I don't have the date in front of me. Sorry.
Was it recently?
I don't have the date either. And it's what's the interest in the date of the meeting?
Well, again, if the date was just to take place either after this was being read for adoption, or if it was just a day before the adoption of this ordinance, I think that if this ordinance has been somewhat apparently the framework was created by almost, 3 attorneys? Mr. Yachafano, Mr. Perrone, now it's Mr. Mills that was involved with this. You would think that since you had all these discussions with the tow vendors dealing with the tow ordinance that affects them in a greater financial position, at minimum, you would have some conversations with JCP&L, because I don't think anybody in our staff, with your administration, Mr. Mayor, including yourself, have any background or knowledge about power and transmission and pole placement and maintenance on poles and smart meters and cabinetry. So I thought they would have been the perfect person to talk to and speak with to see what they maybe have plans in the future, the potential time delays for people to receive power. I just don't know why and I'll use your quote, why we're not staying in our lane when it comes to utility companies. We have the BPU, and I can tell you this, Rockaway Township is not a mini BPU. There are statutory requirements from all these utility companies that they need to follow. And I believe Mr. Boyle from the other communications company kind of informed Mr. Perrone of the same, but there was C-leg. Why are we even putting this in place? I mean, you mentioned about construction and safety and whatnot, but I think anybody that knows where to place a pole or how to place a pole is definitely not within Rockaway Township. It would be through the engineers of JCP&L or other utility companies that place their poles and components and meters and such and wires. So I'm a little lost why we didn't have them in this communication. You read a letter bashing the president of JCP&L, and you don't even have the ability to set up to have communications with them.
Okay, let's move forward.
I'm not done, Council President. I have more.
Well, you're not recognized any longer.
Council President, can I have a moment?
I never gave up the floor.
You don't have to. I'm taking it from you. You're no longer recognized.
You're taking the floor away from me as I was
You're
mentioning.
no longer recognized. You've been
But I'm in the
speaking for
open-
5 minutes about nothing. So go ahead, Mayor Puzio.
Thank you. This ordinance is, I don't know, I don't understand what Mr. Kelly's talking about. He went off on a tangent. Mr. Kelly, I gave you a chance to speak. Please extend me the same courtesy. This ordinance has nothing to do with electric transmission lines or anything of the such. It's very simple, as I explained last week. This ordinance allows Rockaway Township.
You're not on mute.
Yeah, I know. What happened?
Pat, you're not on mute, Pat.
Can I continue? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. This ordinance doesn't rely on engineers, transmission lines, or electrical grids or anything technical. It's very, very simple. So I don't want the council to make more out of this than there is. It's about knowing about what equipment is being placed in our town and where. We need to know where telephone poles are being placed. We need to know where digital equipment is being placed, whether it's wireless, hardwired. We need to know as a town what type of equipment is being installed in Rockaway Township. It's simple. It's very, very simple. It has nothing to do with being an expert in the field of electrical engineering. It's so when a pole is put in, we know where that pole is. We know what type of equipment is on it. We also want to know if someone's installing a piece of equipment in our town on our property and they're making money off of it. Rockaway Township, it might have fees that can be attached to that benefit our taxpayers. So it's nothing technical. It's just about knowing what's being installed in our house called Rockaway Township.
And Mr. Mayor, if I can just comment on that, I have one question on that comment.
There's no more comment than
I
your
do.
question.
I have one
You've had
question.
plenty of time. No, your question has nothing to do with the ordinance.
There's a 14-day period for the council to approve the permit.
I'm
So that's a
done, Mr.
review
Jackson,
process.
answering any questions in the administration are
There's a
done.
review process going on there. You don't want anybody to know any information for them to vote on.
What are you talking about? He just explained it. Did you read the ordinance? He just explained it.
I did.
So
the council has to approve
clerk,
the
please
permit.
take the roll call. You're muted. There you go.
Council Member Kelly,
I'm unmuted. No. You're going to get sued.
Council Member Quinn,
Again?
Yes.
Council Member Friedlander,
Yes.
Council Member Kritz,
Yes.
Council Member Salberg,
Yes.
Yeah, what a mistake.
Council Member Brooks,
Mr. Kelly, you're unbelievable.
Abstain.
Council Member Noon,
Yes.
Council Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
Council President Jackson.
Yes, that's 7 yeses, 1 no, and 1 abstention. The motion carries. Next is open to the public. I'll start by asking Ms. Seeger if we've had any members of the public send emails in with questions.
At this time, Council President, I see none.
Okay. With that, Liz, I'll let you go through and start unmuting members of the public.
Okay. D. Hagberg, do you have any comments? Wait, let me figure out how to, here it is, unmute. D. Hagberg. Can you hear me? Ellen Benson. Ellen Benson.
No comment, thank you.
Thank you. Lily Sweet.
No comment.
No comment?
No comment.
Thank you. Patricia Degnan.
Yes, I do have,
Patricia Degnan.
Yeah, she's going to talk. Is she unmuted?
She was unmuted and she went back on mute. And Patricia, we'll need your address, please.
88 Valley View Drive, Rockaway, New Jersey, 07866.
Thank you.
I have 2 questions. One is on an ordinance that's an ordinance to introduce. It's on 020-30. Under B, it says description, RMFO District 10, a 10 district, and it says the block number and the lot numbers. Can we know the actual street addresses on this? And my other question is, I just heard a rumor that we are going to be closing our parks again. And I'd like a clarification on that, whether that's something that's true or not.
Yeah, and for that part, I'll have the mayor give an update, and when he does his report, he'll provide an update on any of those rumors. In terms of the address on that ordinance, I'm not sure, Mr. Yachafano, if that's permissible or.
Of course it is, a public record.
Mr. Kelly, did I ask for your input or guidance?
No, you got it, though.
So just mute yourself.
You got it, though.
Completely unprofessional.
How could you not know a block and lots on
as always. So, Ms. Degnan, what we'll do is I'll have somebody from administration get back to you on providing you with that information if possible, okay?
That's fine. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That's it.
Thank you. Have a good night. Go ahead, Ms. Peter.
Thank you. Ron Cleland. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me get him unmuted.
No comment.
Ron Cleland, no comment. Thank you. That's everyone, Council President Jackson.
Thank you. Mrs. Seeger, can you check the email one more time?
I just did, and I don't see anything, but I'll keep an eye on it. And if I do, I'll let you know.
Thank you. And next are ordinances to introduce. We have O-20-25. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Discussion?
Did anybody second it?
I did.
Last for discussion. Okay, Mr. Brooks, we'll have 5 minutes of discussion. Go ahead.
Thank you, Council President. The one question I have is on section 54-45.8 occupancy standards.
Hey, hold on 1 second. Hey, yeah, okay. Go ahead, Mr. Brooks. Sorry about that.
No problem. The question I have is number 1 says provide an occupant for each bedroom. And then number 4, prevent more than 2 persons for occupying a single bedroom. So based on what I'm reading here, and in number 3, it says provide separate bedrooms for parents and children. So are you saying a family of 3 people needs 3 bedrooms because the husband and wife can't sleep in the same bedroom?
What?
I'm not sure respond to you, Mr. Yachafano, or.
Council President, I believe that Allison had the information on this.
So, Ms. Ferrante?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Peron, can you mute yourself? Thank you. There we go.
Yes, I believe this is taken straight from the affordable housing regulations. However, I will get that information from our affordable housing council and/or our planner and get that back to the council.
Any other questions, Mr. Brooks, or?
No, so would that mean this gets tabled or we will get the answers prior to voting on it for the formality?
Yeah, so it's just being introduced now. So I'm assuming we can discuss it prior to the final approval. So if we get the info, Ms. Ferrante, I'm assuming you'll get us that information before the next reading?
Yes.
Okay. You okay with that, Mr. Brooks?
Yep, no, that's fine. I just want to make sure it reads correctly.
Any other questions? Okay, clerk, you could take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly.
I said I had a question. You got me muted again.
Okay, go ahead.
When you have on these all these ordinances to introduce, you have a statement of the ordinances that are there, and maybe for the public to get a better understanding, other than the small verbiage that we have here, can we read each one of the statements for the purpose of each one of these ordinances? Like, for instance, the 20-25, we're dealing with the fair share housing requirements. You know, it's based with some of the litigation that we have in court orders that are taking place. And we do have some information to give a little bit of a summary of which each one of these ordinances are for. And the other thing is, I might as well ask it now too, because it's going to reflect on all the other ordinances following it. And Mrs. Degman already hit it before I mentioned it. It would have been nice to have a map of a location of all the block and lots for each one of those ordinances from D all the way down to the last one, J, which would be 20-34. And then when Mr. Brooks had made a comment about getting some information, having a lot of that information and Mr. Sackett didn't chastise Mr. Brooks for asking the question now rather than last week, but getting this information and having that before we have an adoption of an ordinance would be great. Is there a reason why we can't get some of this information beforehand before we even introduce this? Because it's a small window when it becomes an adoption process.
We'll take a look at it. Thank you for your comments. We'll definitely look into it. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I appreciate it.
Council President, may I make a comment?
Sure.
All right, a map of the block and lots was provided. These ordinances were provided in the housing element and fair share plan that was endorsed by council during the last meeting, and a map of the respective block and lots was provided in that document, but could be provided to council in the context of introducing these ordinances.
Okay. Clerk, you could take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Council Vice President Sackett, Council President Jackson.
Yes, that's 9 yeses, motion carries. Next ordinance introduced is O-20-26, an ordinance replacing Chapter 53 entitled Mandatory Development Fee, the Code of the Township of Rockaway. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Clerk, you could take the roll call.
Could you tell me who?
It was Mr. Quinn and Mr. Friedlander.
Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly said yes. Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Council Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
Council President Jackson.
Yes, that's 9 yeses, motion carries. Next is CO-20-27, an ordinance establishing Chapter 54 entitled Land Use and Development, Section 48 entitled Mandatory Affordable Housing Set Aside of the Code of the Township of Rockaway. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? That's Mr. Quinn and Miss Noon.
I had a quick question on that.
Absolutely.
With the, we already did A and B, but on C and following down all the way to J we have a lot of ordinances that we're introducing tonight. Is there a deadline that we need to have these things introduced and approved before the end of the year? Because of some court order or requirement?
I don't know who can
Ms.
answer
Ferrante,
that.
can you
Yes.
Ferrante answer that?
Yes, we do. We have court order, and that's why they need to be introduced and adopted at the next meeting.
When's the deadline, Mrs. Seeger?
We have to have it done by January, and you have to have the reading. We could push off the second reading to the first meeting in December, but we wanted to get them in because you need the first and second in the same year. It doesn't leave us very many more meetings.
We would have to advertise it and everything else before the end of the year to make them valid?
Excuse me?
We would have to have the adoption and then the advertisement, the notice of each ordinance before the end of the year. Is that correct?
I have to have it adopted and advertised before the end of the year. Before the last meeting, which is the beginning of December, which we did, if there was any issues, we wanted to have the second meeting the end of November.
What's the reason why we took so long to do this?
The court order just came up. They gave us 100 days to
Can you
get
make sure
everything
everybody in
done.
the public is
Thank you.
muted, Liz?
I'm trying. Hold. I am trying.
No
Council
problem.
President, may I speak?
Yeah.
This is going to be an ongoing process. We're going to be revisiting this every few years to make sure we meet our affordable house requirement. So this is just one part of the process. So this is by no means the end. It's just going to be a series of things that are put in place through court orders, through working with the Council on Affordable Housing. So this is going to be an ongoing issue.
No, and I thank you, Mr. Mayor. My concern was, putting it at last minute of a court order before the end of the year. I just thought we would be a little bit more expediting on something this serious.
May I interject?
Sure.
Council President, yes, the judgment was entered into on October 5th, and then the schedule was set by both our Affordable Housing Council and our planning, and we did a pretty excellent job to introduce and adopt the necessary planning and council documents that was required to us by this judgment, and to have done in, I believe it was 120 days, and ordered by the courts, and recognizing that we can't introduce in 1 year and adopt in the following year.
Thank you. With that said, clerk, can you take the roll call on O-20-27?
Councilmember Kelly.
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn.
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander.
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz.
Yes.
Councilmember Selberg.
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks.
Yes.
Councilmember Noon.
Yes.
Council Vice President Sackett. Council President Jackson.
Yes, that's 9 yeses. Motion carries. Next is D-O-20-28, an ordinance establishing Chapter 54 entitled Land Use and Development, Section 54-30.52 entitled R-B MFO Regional Business Multifamily Overlay District of the Code of the Township of Rockaway. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Quinn and Mr. Friedlander.
Discussion, Council President?
Yes.
Okay, this is just a quick overview of all of them. And I want to I did read the maps the last time, so I appreciate getting those out the last time. I just wanted to verify that all those locks and blots were the same as what was on the map, that's all.
Yes, they have not changed, and it is in accordance with the settlement agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Clerk, you can take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly.
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn.
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander.
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz. Councilmember Kritz, I couldn't hear.
He said yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Selberg.
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks.
Yes.
Councilmember Noon. Council Vice President Sackett. Council President Jackson.
Yes, that's 9 yeses. Motion carries. Next is E-O-20-29. Liz, maybe mute yourself while doing this part. That's Allison, mute yourself too. There we go. An ordinance amending Chapter 54 entitled Land Use and Development of the Code of the Township of Rockaway, creating a new section 54-30-53 entitled B-2 MFO Highway Business Multifamily Residential Overlay District. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Quinn?
Second.
Second.
Mr. Brooks? Clerk, you can take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Say it again, Howard.
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Council Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
Council President Jackson.
Yes, that's 9 yeses. Motion carries. Next is F O-20-30, an ordinance amending Chapter 54 entitled Land and Use Development of the Code of the Township of Rockaway, creating a new section 54-30.66 entitled RMFO-10 Multifamily Residential Overlay District. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Quinn and Mr. Brooks, I believe.
Roll.
You can take the roll call.
Hold on.
There you go.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Council Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
Council President Jackson.
Yes, 9 yeses. Motion carries. Next is G O-20-31, an ordinance amending Chapter 54 entitled Land and Use Development of the Code of the Township of Rockaway, creating a new section 54-30.67 entitled RMFO 12 Multifamily Residential Overlay District. A motion.
So moved.
Mr. Quinn,
Second.
Mr. Friedlander. Clerk, you can take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Council Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
Council President Jackson.
Yes, that's 9 yeses. Motion carries. Next is H O-20-32, an ordinance amending Chapter 54 entitled Land Use and Development of the Code of the Township of Rockaway, creating a new section 54-30.68 entitled RMFO 12A Multifamily Residential Overlay District. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Quinn,
Second.
Mr. Salberg.
Roll call.
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon, Council Vice President Sackett,
Sorry, I got kicked off for a second. Sorry.
Reading Stacy Craig.
Who?
You're reading something.
Council Vice President Sackett.
Yes.
Thank you. Council President Jackson.
Yes, that's 9 yeses. Motion carries. Next is I O-20-33, an ordinance amending Chapter 54 entitled Land Use and Development of the Code of the Township of Rockaway, creating a new section 54-30.69 entitled RMFO 15 Multifamily Residential Overlay District. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And then Mr. Brooks.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Council Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
Council President Jackson.
Yes, that's 9 yeses. Motion carries. Next is J O-20-34, an ordinance amending Chapter 54 entitled Land Use and Development of the Code of the Township of Rockaway, creating a new section 54-30.70 entitled RMFO 15A Multifamily Residential Overlay District. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Quinn?
Second.
Mr. Brooks? Clerk, you can take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember
Yes.
Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Council Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
Council President Jackson.
Yes, that's 9 yeses. Motion carries. Before we move to the next section, I want to thank Ms. Ferrante for putting together these ordinances with her team, and in such a short time and getting this out so we can get it approved before year end. So thank you for all your hard work that you and the rest of your team put together. Let's go on and let's do the consent agenda next. It's R20-187, R20-188, and R20-189. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Mr. Friedlander and Mr. Quinn.
Council President, just to make a motion to pull 20-187 and 20-189 for discussion only.
Excuse me, Council President, can I say something?
Sure.
You need to pull our 2187. It should have been on next council meeting, not on tonight. Sorry about that.
Okay. So, Mr. Yachafano, should we make a motion to rescind the motion that was just made?
Yes, we have to.
Yes, Council President.
Okay. So, can we have somebody make a motion? I'll make a motion to rescind the previous motion.
Yeah, I'll second it.
That was me and
You still have a
Mr.
motion on the floor, Council President?
That's what we're rescinding.
My motion to have them for discussion, or
No, nobody seconded your motion.
you didn't even do a roll call or even ask for a second.
Nobody seconded your
You
motion.
didn't
Well,
ask for a second.
why can't we just rescind this motion? So go ahead and take a roll call on rescinding the motion, clerk.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Council Vice President Sackett, Council President Jackson.
Yes, that's 9 yeses, so the motion's rescinded.
Council President?
Yeah.
The next motion should be a motion to remove it from the agenda and carry it to the agenda of the next meeting.
Yep. So I will make a motion to remove R20-187 from the agenda and move it to the following meeting.
I second that.
Thank you. So it's me and Mr. Kelly.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Council Vice President Sackett, Council President Jackson.
Yes, that's 9 yeses. So R 20-187 is removed. Mr. Kelly, do you want to make another motion?
I do, just a motion to discuss, to remove R 2189, not from the agenda, just for discussion, to vote on afterwards.
I'll second that.
Council Member Kelly.
Yes.
Council Member Quinn.
Yes.
Council Member Friedlander.
Yes.
Council Member Kritz.
Yes.
Council Member Salberg.
Yes.
Council Member Brooks.
Yes.
Council Member Noon.
Yes.
Council Vice President Sackett.
Yes.
Council President Jackson.
Yes, it's 9 yeses. So, Mr. Kelly, we'll have 5 minutes of discussion. Go ahead.
Did you want to vote on R 2188 of the consent agenda and then go through like we normally do?
Does it matter, Mr. Yachvana, or we could vote on both at the same time based on the discussion?
I'm just going by what you did before, a common practice, that's all.
Okay, so go ahead and do your discussion.
Is Mr. Tabbitt part of this meeting?
Doesn't appear to be on.
No, he's
All
not.
right, then maybe the administration that's on there. We have an agreement in front of us for shared services with the Borough of Butler with Rockaway Township over a 5-year period. And it starts off at 78,000, almost 78,500 to almost 85,000 in the year 2025. Did we ever do any research as to what amount of revenue that the Borough of Butler brings in from our service that we do for them? In other words, their fees, their fines, their licensing, and so forth.
I don't have, may I speak, Council President? I don't have an exact number. We can get that to the council, but I can tell you this, after discussing some of the shared service agreements with Peter Tabbitt, our health officer, we have multiple towns that are under the agreements, and we anticipate a $310,000 in offsetting revenue from our 4 public health shared service agreements. So it's a 76.8% profit margin, the program.
I read his letter too, yeah.
Okay, so so I don't have the exact, so do you have the numbers in front of you?
Go ahead, Ms. Seeger.
Is that all right, Mike?
Absolutely.
The renewed Butler agreement would bring Rockaway Township $78,501 in offsetting revenue for 2021 and over $408,522 over a 5-year term.
Mrs. Seeger, can you tell me what the projected amount of money it would cost Butler to actually have their own health department?
No, I cannot. But if you would like that information, I can ask Mr. Tabbitt to provide that.
I just thought, we have a contract. Usually Mr. Tabbitt's pretty good being here. The one thing that we have here on number 4 of the contract, the provider further shall employ and contract for such other than registered environmental health specialist, health nurse, health educator, clerical, technical, and other positions deemed necessary to provide health services in the recipient in accordance with the practice standards, performance, and best practices. So Butler is actually getting our whole health department. Would that be accurate?
I would say that I know, and Ms. Seeger, I'll let you answer, but I know in the past, we've had a breakdown of the amount of time each person spends servicing each township that we have the agreement. So they don't have full-time access to our employees. An employee might only spend 10% of their time servicing Butler. And we have been provided that in the past. It was pretty straightforward looking through it.
Well, it doesn't indicate that though, Council President. It just seems that whenever they're required, and then whenever they can put their time aside to do that, as the mayor is trying to combine all 4 of them together, I'm looking at it in a different look. We have our own health department that's roughly just under $800,000 to operate. That's just the health department. We're not talking about animal control or anything else. $680,000 in salary and wages and almost $90,000 in other expenses. And I'm looking at what Butler brings in, kind of like, like the municipal courts in Mine Hill and Rockaway. The revenue that they bring in from the service pays for whatever it is that Rockaway Township is billing. And my point is, I think we give these services away. For $78,000 to provide Butler with a health department, and all these additional services pointed out in 4, as well as 12, I think that's 13 and 14. I think it's very cheap that we're selling our services towards some of these other municipalities. I mean, just in general, and it is public record, our health officer and our chief officer combined make over $200,000. So if Butler was to have one of those individuals, just one employee, they would pay more than what our annual agreement is. And that's not including benefits and pension payments. So that's where I'm kind of concerned about this $78,000, and then there appears to be a 2% increase every year for the next 5 years. But my other question I have is under number 14. Well, here, I'm sorry, number 13. And there's only 2 more to go on this, Council President. The recipient's residents shall be able to participate in health clinics and screenings sponsored and conducted by the provider being the township. The recipient, of course, is Butler. The recipient shall also share the use of special equipment and service maintenance maintained by the provider, including but not limited to cameras, clinic facilities, official forms, health education materials, and the preparation of reports at no additional cost. So now Butler doesn't have to buy any of this stuff. They're using all of this stuff that we've already purchased for. And then under 14, it says the health officer or his duly licensed designee shall be in attendance in the recipient's municipality as often as necessary in order to deliver the full range of health services and set forth in this agreement. So in other words, there is no real scheduling. I mean, we have COVID-19 going on. Mr. Tabbitt is probably working nonstop since the pandemic really hit us back in the early part of March, and the governor's orders and everything like that. I mean, the department head can't get overtime.
No, Mr. Tabbitt, I'm more concerned with our nurses and how much they're working.
Well, I mean, Mr. Tabbitt's a huge component of that without him, it'd be difficult for everybody to function. I mean, you could agree on that, Mr. Jackson. But then on number 15, and here's another question. It reads, the provider shall use its best efforts to apply the grant funds in support of the health services to be provided under this agreement. Any grant funds received will directly go to reducing overall budget costs enumerated in paragraph 19A. There is no 19A in this contract. It just goes to 19. I don't know if that's a typo, if it's a direction to 16A. But we have something that appears not to be correct on line 15 of this agreement. So that's one thing we should look at beforehand and either make adjustments to this contract. And B, I just wanted to just vocalize my concern of how cheap we're providing this. I think Butler is really getting the best bang for their buck. They're paying $80,000 where we're paying almost $800,000 for the same service.
Council President, can I say something?
Sure.
This agreement is recommended by the health official who has realized, and he's done all the numbers, and still says over 5 years we're making $408,522, and that he knows how much time his people spend there, and he has a great relationship with Butler. We're always getting compliments. His department works very hard along with his nurses, and he's done a good job, and they want to renew it, and he says it's profitable for us.
No, I understand that, Mr. Seeger, and I agree that Mr. Tabbitt he's phenomenal at his job. He is great. He is the guy for that position. There's no doubt about it. But of course Butler would be thrilled. I mean, look at what we're paying. If we're paying $800,000 for the same employees, facilities, equipment, materials, and Butler's only paying $80,000, why wouldn't they want to jump on board?
But Butler's not getting them full time, Mr. Kelly.
They're getting
Butler doesn't have use them.
You didn't read number 13 or 14.
Council President, may I say something?
Forget it. It's no point, Mr. Puzio, Mayor Puzio. There's no point discussing it further. Do you have any other points, Mr. Kelly?
Well, you have an inaccurate portion on 15. There's no paragraph 19A, but you have it stated in there that's the budget cost in paragraph 19A. So maybe we can point out where 19A is, or is it a typo? Do we need to correct this? I mean, it's only a contract, Mr. Jackson, for, almost 80 grand over 5 years, 370,000, as Mayor Puzio said. I think we should draw some more attention to this. And
But we already approved it.
reflecting COVID-19.
So do you want to make a motion to do something, Mr. Kelly?
Well, I would make a motion if there's a correction needed. Is 19A, where it states that on number 15 of the contract, have you looked at it?
This was approved by the town of Butler at their last meeting, and I'm sure their attorney read it over because it's already signed.
Mr. Seeger, I understand that. I'm asking our administration, maybe you to review something that their administration overlooked. It's not a problem. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. But if line 15 says for us to, and it identifies 19A of a paragraph, where is 19A of a paragraph?
Would you like to make a motion, Mr. Kelly?
Well, I'm just saying, do we believe that there's an error on this, or is that accurate? And if it's accurate, please identify where 19A is.
Well, there's obviously no 19A.
Okay, so we are in agreement then that there's a flaw. Who cares who did it? Let's correct it, that's all.
So, Mr. Yachafano, materially speaking, right? So it's referring to paragraph 19A. There's a paragraph 19. There's no subsection A under paragraph 19.
But there's 16 with a subsection A.
Any grant funds received. Got directed to reducing the overall budget costs.
Why don't we just take out the last sentence and then it will be fine.
Well, can we do that since it's already been approved by the other governing body of Butler? They would actually have
to. That's a question for Mr. Yachafano. In reading through it, it appears to me it's referring to, it's probably referring to 16.
Well, we can't have it ambiguous. We have to have it.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I can't tell for sure. So, Mr. Yachafano, what's your opinion?
Let's just put it on the record what the correction is and move forward with it.
Oh, there you go, Mr. Puzio. Shoot from the hip.
Council President.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Yachafano.
Council President, I have no answer for why or why not that section appears as it does. I looked at the contract or about a week ago. I didn't see any missing spaces in it. It could be any number of things. I don't know whether there's any particular urgency in passing this tonight as opposed to at our next meeting. But if the council feels that there is some open matter with respect to the contract, we can't unilaterally amend a contract that Butler has already passed. So right. I just say table it until the next meeting, and we'll get Mr. Tabbitt to clarify it. And if the council preference is what it is, we can also get Mr. Tabbitt to comment on the profit margins that Mr. Kelly appears concerned with.
So, Mr. Kelly, would you like to make a motion to table it?
Yeah, I think it's appropriate. Anybody would make that motion, but I make a motion to table that resolution. Hold on 1 second.
R2189.
R2189 to table that to the next council meeting.
That's the end of discussion on that matter, Council President. We should move to B, which is the only surviving item, I believe.
Table R20-189 first.
Yes.
Yep. So I'll second the motion. Clerk, you can take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly.
Yes to table it.
Councilmember Quinn.
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander.
Yes.
You're muted, Liz. There you go.
Councilmember Selberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
You're muted, Doug.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes, my space button wouldn't work.
Uh-oh.
Councilmember
Vote
Noon,
on it.
Yes.
Council Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
Council President Jackson.
Yes, that's 9 yeses. So R20-189 is tabled. Clerk, you could take the roll call on R20-188.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Critz, Councilmember Selberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Council Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
Council President Jackson.
Yes. Motion carries. It's 9 yeses.
Hey, Council President, real quick on the motion that we just did.
Sure.
The resolution R20-187, if you recall, it was recommended by our legal counsel that we had to make a motion to remove it from the agenda because we tabled it. Do we need to do the same thing about R20-189 to remove it from the agenda?
Oh, no, Township Attorney, we made a motion to table it. You're muted.
Let's start with 187 to keep Mr. Kelly's comments in context. That was withdrawn at the request of the administration. So the motion, as I understood it, was to withdraw it from consideration.
Yes.
Of this meeting. That automatically amends the agenda. As to R20-189, the motion is to table it with the intent that it be carried to the next meeting. That operates as a motion to amend the agenda. It's not necessarily the magic words every time.
Right. While I have you on, you're not recognized, Mr. Kelly. Council, Township Attorney, while I have you on, we had a member of the public join late. She had difficulties getting on. Is there any protocol if we want to allow her to speak, even though we're not open to the public any longer? Is there a protocol we'd have to follow, or?
You could just, by consent, reopen the public session.
Would anybody have an issue with that?
No. Let them speak.
All right. So Liz, did we have one person join late? I think it's, is it Stacy Gregg or who joined late? You're muted.
Yes, it's Stacy Gregg.
Okay, you can unmute her.
Stacy Gregg, you are unmuted. Would you like to speak?
Miss Gregg? Is she unmuted?
No, but there's another call-in user 3. I mean, there is somebody identified as Stacy Gregg that's unmuted right now.
Try calling user 3. Try calling user 3.
I'm going to, okay. Call-in user 3, you are unmuted now. Is there anyone there? Hello? Call-in user 3.
Okay. Try Miss Gregg again. Try unmuting her again.
Okay, Stacy Gregg. Yeah, I mean, Stacy Gregg is unmuted.
Okay. She's not responding, so I guess just mute her again and we're going to move on with the agenda.
Can we confirm that she actually doesn't have any difficulties?
If she can figure it out, she could chime back in and we'll go back to her. She's been commenting in the chat, so I assume, if she's had difficulty, she'd respond in the chat. Ms. Seeger just reached out to her and she hasn't responded. So I'm not sure. It's obviously difficulties on her end because we've had other people speak. So, okay, let's move on. Does anybody have any old business?
Was there any appointments?
Are there any listed?
I don't know. Sometimes you call them out afterwards.
No, I haven't called them out afterwards. So any old business?
I have a couple old businesses, Council President.
Okay, you have 5 minutes. Go ahead.
For each. The one
No, you have 5 minutes in total, Mr. Kelly.
You're interrupting me, Mr.
5 minutes in total.
You're interrupting me.
5 minutes in total.
You're interrupting me, please.
5 minutes in total.
We have the dog park that we brought up last time, and I think Mrs. Noon has mentioned as well about potentially maybe getting permission to move forward over in the area by Snake Hill Road, by the old RT Castle and Lake Ames. Again, it would be a remote area that's got pretty quick access to Green Pond Road. Recently been paved. I know that the state, we have to have something there to continue for the use from the state, from what Mrs. Seegert has mentioned in earlier meetings. I don't know how much time we have left to meet that obligation with the state. But again, Mr. Mayor, permission to go forward so we can kind of assemble the volunteers, maybe have Mrs. Ferrante draw up something simple as far as a fenced-in area of a perimeter, and then we can get together some contractors and companies and volunteers at no cost to the taxpayers and make something nice there in the northern end for those 4,000 registered pet owners can enjoy up that way. Any possibility with that, Mr. Mayor?
I'll address that in my reports. Thank you.
Thank you. Another thing of old business is, we have our current RMC clerk that's on leave right now. And we have our deputy clerk, Mrs. Peterson, and she's running the boat right now. Is there any possibility of maybe creating a custodian of records for the police department? I did mention that last time. And I think that the police department has their records, and some of the records the custodian can't even review because of the sensitivity or not being part of law enforcement, which also may be disclosable. So I would think maybe this time to maybe minimize the burden of the clerk's office, especially during the absence of our main clerk, maybe we create a custodian of records for temporary purposes, and maybe it turns into a full-time thing. Any possibility of that, Mr. Mayor?
It's an administrative function, and I look at all of our personnel allocations. Thank you.
Is that something that you would look into?
It's an administrative function. I look at all of our personnel allocations.
Just a yes or no question, nothing difficult to answer. The last for old business is notices. I had reached out to our deputy clerk, Mrs. Peterson, and I was asking for, I had a concern that our notices for the public hearings for the budgets weren't posted in our township bulletin boards, outside, inside. And also there was never an agenda that was provided, and even our own website had zero information other than the calendar dates of Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for the budget hearings. And then below that, it showed the closing of access to the municipal building on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I didn't get a response back from the clerk, but, and I've mentioned this before and other times, Mr. Mayor, can we do a little better when it comes to notices? I mean, when we have special events, we take those permits out, we have concerts at the mall, maybe we can put them on Facebook, we can put them on our town website. You actually commented about there was no notice of the last concert at the mall, that nobody noticed anything. Concerning public hearings, we're supposed to be transparent and notify the public of everything. Why our administration or the clerk couldn't, provide an agenda for the people to review of times of each department that's going to be actually attending those budget hearings, so one can actually participate on one of their departments they have an interest in. So, I mean, this is constant that seems to be these lack of notices, or I forgot about it, or we'll do it better next time, or Mrs. Seeger responded, well, that's the way I've been doing it all along. Well, just because you've been doing it all along doesn't mean that it's right. So I don't know how much more effort it is to assemble an agenda and post it on the bulletin board for everybody to see. letting people know where the meetings are going to take place, because the court was taking place on Wednesday. And then there's the other room on the side there that's very small, limited. I mean, is there an issue with that?
I'll address that in my report.
Yeah, as far as that going for old business, that's all I have, Mr. Mayor, or Mr. Jackson.
Okay. Anybody else have any old business? Okay. Next is new business. First is we have the 2021 meeting dates that was included in our packet. Did anybody have any questions about the meeting dates?
I did, Council President.
Go ahead, Mr. Kelly.
You know, in the past, with the council, we had meeting dates, and then there was a time frame in the summer months where we were limited to only one meeting per month until the school year started. On this particular one that we have all the meetings again assembled for the entire year of every 2 weeks. And then there's nothing in there about budget meetings that are noted in that scheduling. Of course, we could always notice them separately as a special meeting or emergency meetings. But is there a reason why we're putting all these meetings assembly together where in the past we would have them only one meeting per month in the summer months because of the difficulties of scheduling?
Oh, no, Ms. Seeger, I don't know if you want to answer that. I mean, my perspective would be we have both on the calendar, and depending on what happens with scheduling, we can flex and cancel one of them if we needed to. And in the budget meetings, yeah, I would put those on as a special meeting. You know, special meetings, the budget hearing meetings. Ms. Seeger, I don't know if you want to comment.
I can. Last couple of years, because of the ordinance, having 2 meetings a month, you put them on and then you canceled them, and you're making the schedule according to the ordinance. On budgets, we can do as special meetings. You're right. Thank you.
Okay.
So we've been doing it wrong all along, Mr. Seeger, since 2012?
We've been compliant.
Well, if we didn't have them scheduled 2 meetings a month in July and August of the years prior, even when you were a councilman at large, Mr. Buzio, were we doing it wrong?
I would rather move for the future. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I didn't get an answer.
I think they gave you the answer they're going to give you. Do you have any other questions?
I do. How about the actual holidays for religious holidays? Have we gone through them very thorough so that there's not an issue?
That was going to be my question. I'm not sure. I know, Ms. Seeger, did we go through the holidays and make sure there's no conflicts? I mean, Mr. Sackett or Manny, do you see anything?
Council President?
Yeah.
I spoke to Ms. Clipperton.
Mhm.
Leave, go through it with 2 different rabbis.
Yes.
And calendar.
Okay.
I concur, President.
Thank you. Any other questions about the meeting dates? Yes.
Just formality. September 30th is listed as 2020, not 2021.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. We're going to go back in time that day, Councilman Kritz.
Excellent. Marking it
Yeah.
down for yes.
Yeah, if we can adjust that, that'd be great. Thank you. Okay, with that, does anybody else have any new business?
I have 2 new businesses, I believe, on for tonight.
Okay, yeah, 5 minutes. Go ahead, Mr. Kelly.
With Mr. Mayor or administration, maybe you can help me out with this. As far as job opportunities, have we had any new hires in the last month or so?
Yes.
In what departments did we have those new hires?
I have to look.
You don't know?
No, I do not. There's been a few.
Do we have any ones that are from building and grounds?
What's your question? I'm not going to delve into personnel issues.
Okay. Have we hired somebody new for buildings and grounds?
Mr. Kelly, personnel falls under the administration. What's your question?
That's public record, sir. That's a hiree.
I'm asking you, what's your question?
Did we hire a new employee for buildings and grounds?
Yes.
Okay. Was that job advertised?
Yes.
Yes.
It was? And where was it posted?
Ms. Seeger, where did we post that? Through our usual outlets?
Yes, we posted it by the requirements we have to post.
Where was that, Mrs. Seeger? That doesn't answer the question.
Mr. Kelly, what is the question? What are you
Where was
trying?
it posted, Mr. Mayor?
What's the point? I need to
Where was it posted, Mr. Mayor? It's a simple question.
through our usual outlets.
Which are what?
It was posted as we deemed we had to post.
So was it?
According to civil service, we posted it, and all the unions were notified. It was on the website. It was posted.
Could you send me the listing for that or the posting of that position, Mrs. Seeger?
If Mr. Puzio would like me to.
It's public record. I either ask it through Oprah or hopefully you give it to me willingly.
We'll take a look at it.
I'll send an Oprah request tomorrow. My next new business is, since we have the absence of our clerk, who is actually running the clerk's office? Anybody?
The deputy clerk, who has the authority to do that.
So Mrs. Peterson is the one that actually runs the clerk's office?
Correct.
And can Mrs. Peterson answer that? Or, I mean, she's sole. She's the secretary to the council.
You asked me who was
Council
running the
President.
office, and I told you.
Council
Okay.
President,
Yes.
this sounds like it's starting to be a personnel inquiry about a particular employee.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm trying to
Well,
find
that's
out.
your opinion, Mr. Kelly. My
Well,
opinion is different.
unfortunately, it is my opinion, and unfortunately, your opinion is incorrect. Do we have
Council President, this
I
is
have the
going,
floor,
Council
Mr. Mayor. You're
President,
not going to interrupt me
this
on
is
the
going
floor.
off the
Mr.
rails.
Puzio.
The administration is not going to be answering any more
That's
questions.
fine.
Mr.
I have
Kelly.
a clerk that's
If
the
he
council
wants to,
secretary.
he can submit
Who
them
is the
through
custodian
email.
of records now, Mr. Mayor?
Thank you.
So my last point of questioning is, when I ask a question for an email to the clerk, does it have to go through the administration for the clerk to respond to me? Or can the clerk respond on her own? Because I've asked several times for an agenda and the clerk would not respond to me. And I wanted to know if maybe perhaps it was the
Council President, I
administration.
again caution you, this is becoming a personal inquiry concerning the conduct of the clerk, the deputy clerk's
Yep.
employment.
The
This is
clerk
out of
He's
order.
opening up
is
for a
the council
lawsuit.
secretary,
He's opening
Mr.
us up to a lawsuit.
Giacofano. Under 40A 131, she's the counsel to the clerk, the clerk's counsel secretary. So please, Mr. Giacofano, I can ask who's the custodian of record. I can ask who the clerk is in replacing our clerk that is out on leave. And is that clerk have to get special permission from administration to answer the council? Simple questions.
So there's not going to be an answer. The mayor already said they're not answering you any more of your
Well,
questions.
the mayor doesn't control the clerk, bud.
I'm not your bud, and
Yes, you are.
you're
You're my
stopping
friend.
your interrogation.
You're my friend. Stop it.
Stop your interrogation. It doesn't sound like there's an answer coming. So did you have anything else?
He's the secretary to the council. That's sad. That's sad.
Is there any
She has an obligation.
any other council members have new business? Okay, next we're going to go to reports. Mr. I'll start with Mr. Kritz. Do you have anything to report?
No, nothing to report.
Okay. I'll go to Mr. Salberg next.
Thank you, Council President. Just two quick marks. Again, of course, our prayers go out to the Burke family. We wish him the best, and congratulations to Councilman Brooks on his win at the election. So it's official. That'll be official soon.
Thank you. Councilman Brooks. You're muted. You're muted.
All right, it's the space bar again. Thank you, Councilman Salberg. And until it's finished, I'm not gonna take it as a win yet. I appreciate it though. Secondly, I wanted to just point out that they are starting the work on Mount Hope Avenue. I know right now they're in Councilman Quinn's section of Mount Hope Ave, and they'll be moving up towards Richard Mine Road at some point, and I wanted to thank Ms. Ferranti with giving me some updates on that today. So I appreciate that. And secondly, just want to point out that Mars Hills High School will be going back to school, and then Mars Knolls will be following up the following week. Spoke to some of the administration over there. I just wanted to verify. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Friedlander.
Hello. Okay. Status quo on the library and the Historical Society. Case you made mention of the situation with our tax professional, Mark Burek. So for people that don't know, there was a meeting scheduled for the Sewer Assessment Committee on November 19th, and that right now was canceled due to his health reasons. That would be it. And just tomorrow's Veterans Day, and give our thoughts and prayers to all the veterans and the soldiers that are protecting us. Yeah, that's
Thank
it.
you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes, thank you. As Manny said, Veterans Day is tomorrow, and today happens to be the 245th birthday of the U.S. Marine Corps. So I'd like to thank them all for their service.
Simplify. Simplify.
Yes, sir. Next would be the rec committee meetings. We had some new members that came to the meeting, and it was very good. We got new blood, and we're getting new ideas. It's nice having them. And the planning board, we had the meeting. As you see, you got your ordinances to go forward, and we are meeting what the courts have mandated. And that's one other thing is football and cheerleading. Cheerleading has a nice ceremony where they give out a rose to the kids that are graduating and moving up. It was beautiful. My granddaughter is moving up, so I got to see that rose pass to her. So it was fun. And everybody stay safe and healthy. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Noon?
No report tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Kelly? You're muted. You're muted.
I also wanted to mention the birthday, the 205th birthday for the Marines. My father was a Marine who's no longer with us in Vietnam, as well as Veterans Day being tomorrow, and all the thoughts and prayers for those who serve. I had mentioned in the past, Mr. Jackson, that it's been over a year that I've been commenting on this. I wish there was something the township could do to put on the website to identify all of our service member family within Rockaway Township. I mean, we didn't have anything for Memorial Day, anything large, and Veterans Day. I know the VFW can easily assist in getting those names. As I had mentioned before, Dover's got on the utility poles and light poles and stuff, pictures of their military men in service. Scotch Plains, I was down there a while ago, did the same thing. So I think it's something that we need to pay homage to them, which would be easily to do, even if it's something on our website or a Facebook post of some sort. That would be wonderful. The other thing is Park Lake. I know that Mr. Brooks and I kind of share the same passion of the concerns of Park Lake that's going on there. And it just still looks horrible on our side. I know the borough is really being very aggressive in what they're doing over in their dam. I hope that we can maybe potentially create a cleanup. I mean, people are doing certain things, and maybe we can grab a couple of volunteers and maybe social distance and still be able to clean up areas in the lake on our side, garbage, tires, miscellaneous stuff. It would be something that we would, at minimum, we should do for the environment as well as for the wildlife. One thing we did, there was budget hearings. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend. I wish I had a better idea of when certain departments were going to start and where the places were. But again, as you heard before, my questions under new business and old business, the administration was not willing to give me that information or an agenda, or even validate that agenda was created. But with that being said, do we know if there was any increases to the budget for some departments this year? For next year, I mean? No, deaf ears, right? And the other thing is going forward with the COVID-19 and the increases of anything, and a new executive order from the governor about mandates inside the township of employees and stuff with masks. How are we adjusting to that? Are we still doing okay? Do we have enough masks? Are there any issues for any employees that we need to provide them with some of that masks or equipment to assist in their job? No answers on that either. And then last was in Lake Telemark. I was wondering how we were making out with some of the speed concerns that were raised, not only on Green Pond Road, but throughout the lake community. I have two council at large individuals that seem to have no report about anything within the township today. And I was hoping at minimum they would say something about what's going on, not only in their community, but the township as a whole. Do you have any results or any action that's taken place? None again. Thank you.
Okay, next, Vice President Sackett.
Thank you. I attended the Citizen Recreation Committee meeting last Thursday as well with Councilman Quinn on the 5th. A lot of new members on there, very excited to get to work. A lot of good ideas, and I'm looking forward to working with all of them as well. Wanted to send out a congratulations to, besides Mr. Brooks, but all newly elected officials throughout the county, throughout the state, and throughout the country. Everyone worked really hard on all campaigns. It's not easy to run it for a campaign, especially in this pandemic we're dealing with. So everyone that worked really hard, congratulations to all of you. Also, I want to wish Happy Veterans Day. I know Councilman Friedlander is a veteran, so I'm not sure if any other councilmen are, but Happy Veterans Day. I appreciate all who have served our country and continue to protect us. And also, with the pandemic going on and numbers increasing quite a bit, please be vigilant, social distance, wear your masks, and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you. And for myself, again, for everybody else, happy Veterans Day, honoring our veterans tomorrow. My father was a veteran in World War II. So hopefully everybody takes some time to think about the sacrifices our veterans make to protect us every day. Also want to make notice of how great our parking lot or building just in general look right now. There's been a lot of improvements to really, make the building look nice. With that said, I will turn it over to the mayor for the mayor's report.
Okay, thank you, Council President. I'm going to address a couple questions that Mr. Kelly had proffered. The dog park, I'm looking at his location as well as other locations to make sure that we're putting it in the best place in town. Might take us a little while because we're operating, trying to get a lot of projects caught up, Peterson Field being one of them. I want to address the traffic issues up in Telemark. I have been working with Miss Rubalata. She's on the Telemark board, and the police department has had several radar details conducted on Telemark Road in the vicinity of the Telemark Clubhouse over the past couple weeks. They had a mobile traffic indicator deployed to the area, which displays an approaching vehicle speed, same as the trailers do. The device mounts to a signpost. Installation of traffic speed counter to monitor and record the speed of the area traffic is also ongoing. I want to touch on COVID. That has been a topic. And today I put out a order for us to close our recreational facilities. And I just want to clarify that. We've had several schools in Rockaway Township closed down. cases have been increasing, hospitalizations have been increasing. So I'm always concerned about the safety of our children, our adults, our seniors, all of our residents in town. We're trying to control. If we would shut down not our supervised sports like football or soccer, where we have adults that are monitoring, making sure that the kids are following safe protocols, social distancing, masks. But what I've been seeing is kids playing pickup games at the local basketball courts. They haven't been following the protocol. So what I'm trying to do is closing those down until we can get this under control. Because as we spread the virus, as COVID spreads, it's a domino effect. It shuts down our schools. Kids have to go, they have to go remotely. It shuts down our businesses. As this increases, it affects us. So we need to be vigilant and get there early and try to stop the spread of it. So that's what I did. Our playgrounds have been closed. Our swing sets have never reopened during this pandemic. You still can have passive recreation. You can go hiking. You can do all of those things. Football, any organized sports that have adults that are monitoring, that are coaches that are there, those are can go on. I'm trying to do this incrementally. So we're trying to get COVID under control. Like I said, it's a domino effect. We want to keep our schools open.
How about our police department with COVID?
Don't interrupt the mayor, please.
I wasn't. Police department with COVID.
Yes, you were.
Thank you, Council President.
Yeah.
Right.
COVID within our police department.
Stop
Council
talking. You're
President.
not recognized. You're out of order, Mr. Kelly.
Council President, can I continue? Thank you.
Yes.
I just want to let the public know and the council know, when we start to go down the path of discussing personnel, I'm very cautious. So I'm limited in certain answers. I'd rather give less than more to make sure that I'm not violating somebody's rights. So if I don't answer as many questions about personnel and things of that nature, it's just because I don't want to expose the town. So I tend to be a little bit cautious in that area. I also contacted our rabbis and sat down with them. I was initially going to close down any sort of events that we were going to have during the holidays. And I was struggled with that. And I didn't want to do that. I think during this time, Rockaway and throughout the country, it's been a little bit, it's been different, we'll say. Some people need to be lifted up and need a little bit of joy in their lives. So we're going to be holding our Hanukkah event on December 14th. We're going to be doing it at town hall as we usually do. It's going to be done safely. We have social distancing in place, health protocols. The health department is working with Rabbi Herson and Rabbi Baumgarten. We're going to be doing a Christmas tree lighting as well. All of these are going to take place. We're going to make sure that folks have masks. We're going to make some adjustments. But I thought it would be a good idea, and the rabbis also felt that way, that it's something good to do for our community to try to give us some normalcy. I'm very excited about Peterson Field. We had some folks from our recreation committee and our council meet with our engineer, meet with our business administrator to solidify what we're looking to send out to bid as far as the basketball courts, the tennis pickleball courts, as well as fields 1 and 2. The basketball courts and pickleball tennis courts are going to be going out to bid shortly. I hope to have, if everything goes well, the weather holds up, we hope to have a shovel in the ground by March or April to start on the Peterson Field improvements. Our Class 3 officers are all in place. They're doing a great job in the schools. We have the 5 that are in place, 1 in each school, as well as one of our active officers at Copeland. The budget hearings, we have what was listed for the budget hearings was done compliantly. It's very difficult for us, and Ms. Seeger can piggyback on this, for us to give an agenda. It's not needed, and we like to give as much information as we can, but sometimes department heads need to switch things around. They may need more time for preparation. They may not be ready. So we just list the general budget meetings as a general meeting. So if folks want to show up, they're more than welcome to. It's difficult on the administrative end to give exacts. It's difficult unless you're actually working with all of the department heads. It sounds easy to put an agenda out and follow it, but you see how difficult it can be just to get council meetings in place. It's just as difficult to get those budget hearings going. One thing I want to tell you that we've been working with the mall, and I want to thank the council for passing the special events ordinance that allows us to hold special events in town. I've been in contact with the mall manager, and it's not 100% yet, but we're looking at doing a farmer's market on November 21st. It will be the first weekend with 3 additional weekends after that. So that's going to be something that's, I think is going to be fun for Rockaway Township, bring some folks from in town as well as out of town. Hopefully, my vision for this is you bring people into Rockaway to enjoy what we have. They're going to go spend money at our diners. They're going to go have breakfast. They're going to go have lunch at Miller's Ale House. So we want this to be infectious. We start off small, and hopefully as time goes on, it becomes a fixture. So we've been having great talks with the mall to get that done. I also want to tell everyone that we have that CARES grant, and we're in the process of looking into buying iPads for each of the council folks on that grant. We waste a ton of paper. So this is going to help each and every one of you. You're going to have an iPad. You'll be able to do your Zoom meetings on it. We'll be able to get your email and conduct your town business on those iPads. And I think we'll save over the course of time a few thousand trees, hopefully, which is great for our environment. In terms of Verizon, JCP&L, I try to set up a meeting with JCP&L to sit down and discuss with them how we can make improvements in town. I promised certain residents, I promised the town that after the last storm, there were outages, people lost food, people lost medication, thousands of dollars were lost in terms of personal effects from people due to the outage. We need to do better. JCP&L needs to do better, and I want to help them do better in Rockaway Township. Part of our ordinance is that we're putting in place that allows us to identify poles, that allows us to identify equipment, that helps us work with them collaboratively to achieve better results and to achieve better infrastructure. We have to know as a town what people are putting in our towns. Things can't just, a utility company, whether it be Verizon, whether it be JCP&L, whether it be any utility company, just can't show up in town and start putting up telephone poles and start putting up equipment without us knowing about it. It's bad business across the board. I want to wish, like I said, I want to wish everybody to reflect on Veterans Day tomorrow and the sacrifices that our veterans have made for us. And that's the reason why we're allowed to have these meetings and have spirited discussion. It's due to our democracy. And congratulations to everyone who ran in the elections, as Jonathan said, both at the local, county, state, and federal level. It's not easy to run an election. I give everybody kudos to put themselves out there and to do community service, because in many cases, especially at the local level, that's what it is. We put in a lot of time to get things done and to move the town forward. In terms of our advertising, I think we've been doing an excellent job. Unfortunately, some people may not feel that way, but that's perspective. Everybody has a different perspective on things, and everyone's entitled to their opinion. I've received accolades from some of the town folks that we're doing a good job using our 911, our rave system, putting out road closures, putting out events that are happening. Our 2 events at the mall were great. The Morris County Performing Arts, This Is Queen, their cover band, sellout, fantastic event. They had Southside Johnny there, another fantastic event. So I think that we're moving in a positive direction, and I want to thank each and every one of you for your contributions on the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Yachafano, do you have a report? You're muted.
Yes, Council President. Very briefly, Councilman Friedlander touched on it. Due to the unfortunate illness involving Mark Burek, we are going to be forced to cancel the Board of Adjustment Commissioners meeting and hearing, which was scheduled for the 19th of November. Until we know more about Mark's condition, we're going to be unable to reschedule that meeting immediately, but we'll keep tabs on the situation, and as we know more, I will keep the council advised.
Thank you. Ms. Seeger.
Yes, thank you, Council President. I would like to say, yes, we had all the budget hearings, and I would like everybody to know it was put in the paper, it was on the website, it was in the bulletin board outside, And when you came into the building, we had clear signs of what room we were meeting in. And we did have someone from the public. And the person who sent in a request for what we were talking about Thursday and Friday, he was giving an answer on which departments were meeting that day. We just didn't have a specific time because it depended on the department, how long each took. And we didn't want to have to be pinpointed to a certain time. Some took longer, some took shorter, and we moved them up or postponed them depending on what the department's needs were. But they were all held, the departments were prepared, did a great job, and it was very successful for those 3 days. And I would like to let you know that the COVID-19 grant that we've been offered for $294,000, a little bit more than that, has been submitted on time, and we hope to hear from them that we will get accepted to that grant. Dave Dyer and Karen Mabey and the finance department worked very hard on preparing that. We didn't have very many days, but they were very successful in putting in the application to the state. Thank them for working very hard. And all the employees have been very good at following the COVID-19 executive orders that we had. Peter Tabbitt and I have worked on many guidelines that we have provided to all the employees to keep everybody safe and the public. And it's been going very well. We've got many compliments and everybody seems to be doing well. And we thank everybody for their cooperation. And that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you. With that said, we're at the end of our agenda. Can I have a motion to end the meeting?
Motion.
Okay, Mr. Quinn, Mr. Sackett, the second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, the meeting's over. Liz, very good job. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Be careful getting home.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.